Everybody, welcome to Beatnix on the Road, a poetry-powered virtual tour where every episode we stop in a different city and chop it up with the poets from that scene. Today's episode, we are stopping in San Antonio, and we are here with Andrea Sanderson. How you doing, Andrea?
I'm great. How are you, Anthony?
I'm chilling. We got the burgundy matching. We're in the same
Ow.
synchronicity, two different time zones. You know what I'm saying? New York and Texas. Y'all, look, I got the bio right here. Read it to y'all right quick, and I'm gonna turn it over. Andrea Vocab Sanderson is the fifth poet laureate emeritus of San Antonio. Her work is a fusion of poetry, hip hop, and gospel. Can't wait to hear it. She's the author of She Tastes Like Music, which is an incredible title. That I said that. She didn't write that in her bio. And Academy of American Poets Laureate Fellow and recipient of an NPN Award for her upcoming production, The Seasoned Woman, which debuts May 3rd. That's soon, so y'all need to check that out. With that said, I give you Andrea Sanderson.
Hopefully, it'll be in a city near you or your city, because I would love to do the seasoned woman in New York. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. Let me get to it. I think that I will start with part two to a poem that I wrote. So I have a poem called Ask the River, and I wrote a part two to it very recently. And I would love to read that to you because you know how you write something and you kind of you have to fall in love with your work. Because how are you going to share it with anybody if you don't love it first? And so I wrote this literally, I was still writing it right before I got on stage. And then there happened to be a drummer there who gave me a beat that he made up, and then I was like, I don't know how to sing, I don't know how to rap this, let's go and let's do it. And then it just came out real cool. So I'm going to try to recreate that moment without said drummer. Shout out to Tivo Gonzalez. Anyways, here we go. If you ask the water, it will answer in the flow. If you talk to the water, guaranteed to let you know. I said, if you ask the water, answers rush into your soul. So just ask the question. It will answer in the flow. Anthony, help me out here. Sing answer in the flow. Say answer in the flow. Say answer in the flow. Guaranteed to let you know, let you know, let you know. And if you ask this body to salt itself, to travel the path less taken, snake and wind around the land, finding pockets to filter through finally, to speak of itself a unique design, to hold the form or fork and divide, it will. It will do so with ease before it can rest. Until then, it will rush, never hushed, always babbling, but babbling open, wide, open to hydrating civilizations, quenching their thirst. If you ask of this body to breach the canal, it will, to levy the threshold and break free with new life, to be unabridged, boundless, courageous, divine, to be elevated, chosen, growing, and inclined. It will indeed. If you ask of it to offer libations or liberation, it will. To be rippled or serene, to be fulfilled, to ebb and flow. It will come and go and go and go. Anything you may ask, it is up for the task. So bask in that acceptance. Rest in the knowing. The water is one of testament and overflowing with reverence, open with a deep seated rapport, giving report to our ultimate source, the water. One of cleansing and ceremony, one of calm or clamoring. It is celebration leading to the continuation of sustainable life. If you ask of its abilities, it will not fail to deliver and respond with regards to its true nature. For steam, for floating up, for frozen, or frothing at the banks and shore, misting or to pour, to lift or to fall, rain or drip. So come, dip your toes in below the surface, sink your silhouette in the wetness, and wander in until you are waist immersed. It will never be a waste of time to come and inquire. And if you should happen to ask, please reacquaint yourself with the answer and the reason of your quandary. And it will answer in the flow, guaranteed to let you know, let you know, let you know. And that's that piece.
I was worried about a delay. I'm in a different time zone. It's a lack of synchronicity.
It's
I
okay.
would have ruined the flow. Yeah, no, sometimes we're in different time zones, like it's not like perfect synchronicity. So I was like, oh, it's gonna sound like I don't have rhythm if I try to sing with you.
No, it's cool. It's
I was
cool.
like,
I did not warn you about any type of call and response. And it kind of is cool to have the silence to let people fill it in how they want to fill it in.
you're right, you're right. Something that I love that you said just before you even began the poetry, you said you have to fall in love with your work. So how do you go about that? Making sure that you fall in love with it or like aligning yourself so that it happens more naturally? Like what's that part of the process for you?
Well, I think it's just like a relationship. Like we'll say that editing and revision is like the work you put in, you know. Uh, you have to read it to yourself and read it out loud. And you have
Mm,
to let it resonate in your body, and you have to say something that is true to yourself, like it has to have your virtue instilled in the body of work. So whatever your truth is, even if it's not a first person account, maybe it's third person, maybe it's second person, whatever,
hmm.
voice that you're speaking from, to reaffirm it in the language that you use. I always say when I'm teaching workshops, let the language affirm the tone of the piece and the voice of the piece. So let it, substantiate, sustain, support it.
Okay. And I think I hear what you're saying in terms of it's got to be true. But even if you're writing fiction, right? Like it's like with gnomes and dwarves who are at war. Like you can at least have like your philosophy, your views articulated through allegory, right? Okay. What do you got next for us? Let's see what it's like to be in love with our work.
So if I had to say I was titling this feature, it would be called Elevated. So this next piece, that word will reoccur just like it was in the first piece. That word will come up again. Um, and I have a whole EP called the Elevated EP. And so, it's just something that's we have to I think that's something that's been like recurrent in my career, and I'm going to get to my point in just a moment, which is a poem. Is that in order to see the vision for ourselves, in order to understand where we're going and where we've been, we have to take an elevated space. We can't just kind of be terranean. We have to get on the terrain. We can't be on the terrain. We got to get up in the air. We got to get a different focal point, a different viewpoint, a different visage to see where God is taking us, where life is taking us. All right.
We
This
got we
piece,
gotta we gotta get that phone in airplane mode when we're in the air, by the way. No, I'm just messing with you. All right, take off. Take off. Take flight.
I'm sorry, can you hear the buzzing from
Yeah, show can, show can.
get the buzz off? Okay.
You
There is no
popular
buzz. It is now completely silenced.
in high demand, in high demand. That's what that means. Okay, go ahead, take off.
This piece is called Queen of Swing. My apologies. Look how she's doing her thing. She is the queen, queen of swing. She's got reptilian hip rhythm, and she lets the song slither from underneath her hissing skin. She is a brown and dewy body bathed in the balayage of stage lighting. She is pyrite igniting, hitting the rafters with the purest beauty she can possibly muster from her inflated lungs. We will all succumb to her snake charms. Arms extended, she is hugging the reverie of the horn section, her form physically conducting a scatting soul session. She's such a sweet little dancer. A tisket, a tasket, an old yellow basket burrows its way into the silver, realistic microphone. Her tone, breaking free from expectations, her tone, breaking the color barriers of Jim Crow, her voice, colliding with stereotypes and changing perceptions all in one night, all in one night club, stomping at the Savoy. Her crown in its place, the queen of swing graces us all. Belle of the ballroom, a blooming foliage of feathers adorning her tightly curled follicles, the molecules of her radiance showering the philharmonic as jazz chords trumpet up the balcony. No one is seated. No one is standing, everyone levitating. She is elevating the art form. Get it? Elevating, non-conforming mystic that she is. Hypnotist is what she is. And whether it's elegant Ella meeting Ellington to the duets with the dizziness of Gillespie, she is so impressing because of the prowess of pleasure-filled chords making their exodus from her parted Red Sea lips. She be that female pharaoh tightening her grip, enslaving us all with her music. And we are whipped, we are stunned into silence. And whether she is descending a strand of Chick's percussionist web or ascending a riff from Calloway's big band, she commands the cadence, she commands the vibration, the temperament, and the texture. Oh God, her textures. Every gesture tickles the chords like a court jester, bountiful as laughter from her throat. She can make a song sound somber. She can make a song sound giddy. But the song don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Do up, 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 do up. Her body is so fat with talent that the whole room protrudes, and we are so enraptured by her volcanic eruptions that we could all become ash-covered statues. Completely classic, persuasively pushing us over with her seductive blues. And we are all exhilarated by you, Ella Fitzgerald. So I am paying you this tribute, Queen of Swing.
Nah, that went hard. I'm so glad that you did that with us today. That was incredible. Um, okay, so you was like, nobody is okay for the pen, right? So usually I give people advice like, hey, make it super abundantly clear what the poem is about early. So that we all know what to like expect and then you play with that. But here it was like the way you were able to grab our attentions immediately instead was to just have like super dope writing. Like it was just so clean. And then my favorite part was nobody was seated or nobody is sitting, pardon. And
No, it's okay. No one is seated, no one is standing. Yeah.
okay. But you do that, right? So like you have my full attention. Not every poem is gonna like seize the full attention, but this one does, right? So you have my full attention. Nobody is seated. From here, I'm like, okay, cool. So she's saying it's a standing ovation. And then you go, nobody is standing. And I'm like, what? Everybody is levitating. I'm like, that's wild. Not only did you have my entire focus, you played with it. Very cool.
Thank
Mm-hmm.
you very much. Much appreciated. My heart is, it's great to be amongst writers because then, you the appreciation is spoken out because sometimes when you read a poem to your classroom or to people and you're like, what'd you like about it, and there's that cricket moment because they're trying to process it still, and with writers we process in a different space and very quickly because we recognize, oh, you're using alliteration here, oh, you're using contrast here. We're like pulling out the literary devices very quickly. So I'm gonna give you one more poem if that's cool with you.
I am ready. I'm so hype. If you're in love with the work, I am in love with the work. So what do we got?
This one is called The W's of Womanhood. We gotta always write about identity, no matter even if we're, like I said, kind of posturing ourselves outside of the first person, you still find ways to write about your identity, even in the fantasy or the sci-fi or the horror or whatever you're writing about. You got to put a little bit of yourself in there. This is full on about women. Yeah. Warrior, armed with praying hands, using spiritual warfare, woven, worn like a wool cloak, wound tight like clocks with new springs, a weapon with a polished pistol and garter belt, whimsical as a giggle on pouty lips, wickedly wise we've been conjuring since ancient times. Wealthy, we never run out of resources, and we somehow have the know how to make do. Wishful, hoping and faithful, we store this bounty in our bosom, woke to the struggle and acutely aware of the circumstance, wired and live. Electric currents fulminous throughout this body, and oh, this body. Waves of heat radiating over womb, the warmest, softest heaven, weeping for everything lost and accounting for everything kept. Wounded, whether gaping or sutured, things are composed, and everything reeks of bleeding scarlet dignity. Watchful and tracking every moment with intuition and piercing pupils, eyes darting like a feline in the shadows. Work wears on youth, whittles it down to shavings on the wooden floors of time. Every wrinkle is characterized by virtue gained. We are washed in this water as we rinse this blood from our legs, wrap our heads to preserve our thoughts and shield our glory, brighter than a red giant. We are just a dying star that has fallen to the earth in radiance. Yes, the stars are dying to become a woman. The dust of the atmosphere is bursting through the universe within me. I am a woman, a supernatural force of cosmic power.
Andrea vocab, y'all. That was Flames. Really quick. Um, Two questions. One, because we've never been, or a lot of us have never been to your scene. So I was just wondering, like, what do you love most about your scene specifically?
I would say that it gives family vibes off the break. It poetry to me is a room full of awkward ducks. I call it the Church of Uninvited, every poetry reading, because it's a lot of people who feel awkward or wounded or have been hurt by certain settings in life, and they feel like they're the odd man, odd woman, odd individual out. And they come into this reading and they find and identify with something, and they embody it as their truth, or they share their truth, and there's this connectivity that happens. And I feel that San Antonio is no different from that. I love the fluent bilingual aspect of our poetry as well, because so many times we're incorporating Spanish or indigenous languages into our work, and it's just seamless a lot of times, that transition between English and other language.
Okay. Yo, I hope we get to see some of that later in the episode. Andrea, is there a book? Is there somewhere we can find you? Like, can you plug something before we dip?
Sure. So I'm
Hold
Andrea.
on, McPherson. One second. Go ahead.
So I'm Andrea Vocab Sanderson, and that is my website, andreavocabsanderson.com. My book, She Lives in Music, which is a companion to She Tastes Like Music, which is the album. You can get my book on Flower Song Press or Amazon or Target or barnesandnoble.com. All of those websites, it is available for you to purchase if you'd like to purchase it. And you can just drop me messages if you want on Vocabulous on Instagram, or Vocab So Fab on X, even though I don't know how to do X very much, or Andrea Vocab Sanderson on Facebook. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Andrea. You did fantastic. Thank you for those poems. All right, McPherson. Dang, be patient here. My fault, McPherson. My fault. I'm just really excited to get to this next poet. I am here with Gume. Gume, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Like it's been a long day. I know that you've had a long one too. And thanks for being here with us to show us your poetry for real.
Yeah, happy to be here.
All right, y'all. Look, I'm gonna read Gume's bio to y'all and then turn it on over. He's got a whole plan. So here we go. Gume is a Texan native to the Rio Grande Valley on the southernmost border. For the past decade, he has dedicated himself to crafting literary works that promote inclusion and showcase diverse characters with intersectional identities. The bulk of Gume's writing are focused on underrepresented groups, especially those from the communities he is part of, Latine and queer. When he isn't writing, Gume can be found getting lost on a hiking trail with his dogs Blue and Mouse. Those are amazing names. Everybody, give y'all Gume.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, no, so I'm gonna be reading some poems out of my upcoming book. It's publishing in the month of April, hopefully distribution stuff with everything going on. But it should be the month of April. It's called Assimilated Natives, and it's a book of borderland poetry about being on the border of the US-Mexico border and having that dual identity of both as a Chicano being Mexican and American at the same time. So the first poem I'm going to read is called An Introduction. Basically, it's more about me. My name is Gume, and yes, that's my real name. But also, no, it's not my real name. My real name is actually Gumecindo, but like I have a bad habit of selling myself short. I cut syllables like corners, make myself more palpable, less to digest, easier for you to stomach because I am a mouthful of heartburn. But don't you dare call me spicy or I'm going to call you out in your racism. Though I like wouldn't totally hate you if you want to consider me hot. On a good day, when my Cymbalta is Cymbaltaing, I consider myself an open blaze, make flaming hot Cheetos jealous, make flames of Mordor wish they could, volcano. I've got hobbit, elves, and men coming at me thinking like I want something to do with their magical ring, but the idea of permanency gives me the chill, so don't give me a fucking ring, text me instead. I love to read. Words and minds. I never cash out fresh green in one sitting. I have a bad habit of not finishing what I started because when I was 8 years old, okay, look, I have a hard time opening up. I am a sun, refusing to rise if it isn't cloudy enough. I require buffer room between my shine and you. BuzzFeed quiz results call me an introvert, but I just call it laying low. I don't always mean to be seen shining too brightly. Not in a country that tells me to go back to where I came from, despite the fact that I am from here. I never really know where I am going, especially with my words. I talk in cursive, with lots of loops and circles taking forever to get to the point. I moved out of my hometown because I thought it was too small. But now I never leave my apartment, so maybe I'm not a size queen after all. But I want to be a king of hearts when it comes to finding a space within myself to call home, ace the test of time when seasons are too bitter to wear anything other than an oversized hoodie. I want to fit in. I want to find a place to call my own, but as time goes on, I have found those two to not be mutually exclusive. Maybe I'm paper origami, a swan trying to get back to being flat, or maybe I'm still a tree. That way, I could say that I am rooted, growing, and giving back to the world a breath of fresh air. It would all be so real. And I suppose that that's everything I squeeze between the M and the E when I say, my name is Gume. So that's the first poem, one of the earlier poems in the collection. I'm going to read a couple more. They're very Texas. So if you've never been to Texas, if you've never been to the South, it's very green down here. It's a lot of nature, like mixed into the city. This next poem is, I wrote it in Austin, Texas, but it goes back and forth between the years I was living in Austin, Texas, and my years back on the border of Mexico and the US. I have a heart of rose gold. A boy like me is not a dime a dozen. I've been told that floral arrangements serve as prayers to those in hospital beds and those who have managed another year. So I make sure to keep my vase filled to the brim with holy water. Tears from saints with thorn-pricked thumbs, years spent away from home stay fresh in my mind. The alleys behind bars, faces I will never put names to. A stranger once told me that I am on a different frequency, and I think maybe that's why nobody is ever tuning in when I speak. I light a candle in hopes that someone will turn the dial on their radio so that they can jam out with me. But then I remember it's flowers that do the trick, so I walk through the meadow that was once a forest, remind myself how every empty place used to be full. I prove that this theory is a two-sided coin when I fill my palm with little pink flowers, the kind that grow wildly here in Texas, except I tame them with a pinch and a pluck, and I wrangle them with a lasso bow to magic trick them into a bouquet. I lay them in the place where I first learned to tie my shoes, in the same cemetery where, whenever I visit home, I leave flowers for strangers who were not always strangers. This rose gold heart, my prayer, when I hope someone is tuning in to hear, while into the base I offer another tear. And so again, that one is from my collection, Assimilated Natives. This next one is called Little Joto. For those of you who might not know Spanish, Joto means gay. It's gay. It means gay. And it's about growing up a gay Chicano. Little Joto, dancing on the border. Us queers never looked so razzle-dazzle, sugar plum fairy fly, moving from one side to the other, trying to balance the tender and the machismo in you. So they don't give you too much shit when they notice that your arms are a heroic. You won't like me when I'm angry, shade of muscle green when it comes to giving hugs, but limpideo when it comes to throwing the ball. Legs that might not be able to kick the ball far, but can kick your feet high as the stars sparkle, twinkling as you dance on the border of your two halves. Neither is your true homeland. Bake a cake with your tia's recipe that calls for silk sweet sugar in a velvet touch, but leave it in the oven, let it char into big boys don't cry tar. Spend time in a fragrant garden watered by your tio's thumb, kissing the manguera into a fountain, but stomp on the flowers on the way out, out and in, stomped all over. You have been made to be the beat down, burnt out doormat to everyone who refuses to accept your jazzy sparkle, who refuses to comprehend your folkloric flair, applauds their own toxic, poorly disguised as I know what's best. This is for your own good, ignorance. They have not seen your hours of practice, your bleeding toes, your broken bones, yet you keep practicing, you keep going. The show must go on. Dancing like all the chismosas are watching, pero you know what? You don't got a single fuck left to give on the border of your two halves. You have your mother's rose petal lips, your father's summer noonday eyes, low kisses to the critics, and when they raise their hand to push you down, make them see your fiery gaze and regret the thought of boxing you in, convincing you to be restricted to one plot of land or the other. Neither is your true homeland, because you belong in the divide. The merging of sides, the border, is your stage where you will dazzle to onlookers who came for a show. Give them a show, the performance of your life. This is your life. A balancing act on the border of your two halves. How are we on time? One more are you? Sorry, I was keeping it.
No, it's all good. Yeah, you can do one more.
One more. Okay, cool. I'll do the poem. Yeah, I'll do the title poem, which is called Assimilated Natives. Again, the book. One last plug while he's gone. They're gone. Yes, from Assimilated Natives. Assimilated natives, We do not speak with the sun-fire, forbidden tongue of our own fathers, as if we were not carved by broken promise and soothing songs within the nightfall wombs of our own mothers. We were taught to sound like foreigners. Our whitewashed words paint a picture of a heritage suddenly shattered in pieces is as much as we can speak with our elders. Blistered trails behind us are now burnt out lantern smoke streams, first paved with stone and grit by those who came before us. As generations passed, our customs passed with them. Now we have no clue where we came from. Assimilated natives. We do not know the land's true nature like our abuelitas did, how tall palms kissing clouds did not sprout out in measured rows one day, instinctively knowing to show divisions in fields bought out in ways the following generations would term gentrification, worthless dirt wedged beneath worn brown fingernails suddenly becoming costly when clinging to polished brown boots of white men, citrus, an acidic plague once used to lure in tourists, like stomach bug flies, swarms swelling across international bridges they now demand be closed. Nature herself pillaged and raped by northern settlers. They built over her for themselves iron-gated communities on the west side, upwind from the natives like us. Assimilated natives. Our brown skin is an empty playground at first sight of orange streetlights flickering, their eyes open. We are unnaturally pale. We should have much more depth to us, but we were hidden from the sun to prevent us from getting too dark, scrubbed our skin with soap twice as hard so that we'd have better opportunities as an adults. We were told when it's time to succeed in school or get a job, the more you look like your teachers and employers, the better chance you'll have. And if you can sound like them, you're surely going to pass for one of their own. So our tongues are divided in two and sewn back together, stitched with phrasings and names they love to hear. Que pasa, chips and queso. We survive in a world they have created, one blossoming like marigolds in summer radiance, erupting from the grave of our traditions and ways. But just because you cannot read the land's writing does not mean the gravestone is silent. It cries out that we have always been here, doing the things that they call new, what they label as the latest trend. Our broken backs in their flower beds, the sweat of our brows, we share the same fate that befell our elders, laboring and ache for the prosperity of white men. Assimilated natives, we must relight our lanterns and search for the trails behind us. Retrace the beats of our hearts until they tell the stories of who we are, where we come from, the might of our lineage, the fight of our call. Let it be heard down the river to the Gulf that we are here, that we remember, that we vow to find our way home and assimilate no more.
I know that's right. Oh my gosh, Gume, that was amazing. Here, let me put myself back on screen. Okay, yo, okay, so tongue split in two and sewn back together, wild. Uh, they call, pardon the paraphrasing, I'm so sorry.
No, you're
They call it an introvert. I call it laying low. That's wild. Because yeah, just like taking a term that everyone uses and then like, how do you actually define that term that or like, how do you think about that word placement that everyone uses? So interesting. And my favorite part, and this is the line that I was processing, honestly, even when you kept saying other things, I was stuck on it. Um, I thought my hometown was too small, but now I never leave my apartment. Like that's wild. And then like so maybe I'm not the size queen I thought. Wild. 'Cause I'm from Oklahoma and then I moved to New York and I've been in my apartment almost all day just working. So
right.
oh my gosh. Wow. You had my mind going and I'm so curious as to like what the other people watching, I'm sure you had their minds going too. If only I could like just read their thoughts somehow. Dang. Okay. I wanted to ask you just one question, and I'm gonna let you go. If you
Sure.
had like 1 minute to give us like a tour of the San Antonio scene, how would you like what would you show us in that 1 minute?
I think that I would avoid all of the typical stuff that everybody goes to the Alamo and the Riverwalk. And all of the actual cool local stuff is just a block or two away from everything. So I would take you to off trail of King William. So that's the southern part of San Antonio's like downtown area. But there's the historic district where all like the houses are hundreds of years old, so they're like preserved. But in between them, there's all these local Mexican restaurants. Like Tito's is an excellent place. Friendly Spot is right next to it. It's like a little outdoor bar. So there's so many. What I love about San Antonio, a lot of it is outdoors and just
Mm,
you can go enjoy it. Even in the summer when it's 120, just wait till nighttime and then you can go outside and
okay.
it's bearable to get you get a cold margarita.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. And
Oh,
what's the
it's
poetry spot that I gotta go to when I'm out there?
so I love going to the Dakota. The current San Antonio poet laureate runs it on. It's every other Sunday at the Dakota Icery. It's in the down near the downtown area. It's
Okay.
every other Sunday.
Okay. Okay. And who's the current poet laureate?
Eddie Chavez. I had to think, I was
Okay.
like, yeah,
Shout out to Eddie. Okay.
yeah.
Interesting. Interesting.
He got me connected with you, so bonus, yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Do you have a book or is there anywhere we can reach you? You want to plug anything before we dip?
Yeah, well, all of my book information is on through my Instagram at tx.author. Just published a verse novel through West 44 Books. It's a queer retelling of Samson and Delilah, Samson and Domingo, between a marching band kid and football player. And I have the poems that I read today are going to come out of the poetry book Assimilated Natives, which is publishing in April.
Okay. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, y'all. This is Gume. This was awesome. Wow. Tongue split in two, sewn back together. I is not an introvert, just laying low. Wow. And also, so I'm gonna pass this to my homie McPherson. McPherson, have you ever heard of this Eddie person? You know, McPherson, I think I might have heard of him once or twice. Are you talking about the Eddie Vega, the taco poet of Texas, who is a poet, storyteller, and educator? He is the author of the Chichara Chorus, Flower Song Press 2019, and Somos Nopales, Flower Song Press 2024. His poetry appears along the San Pedro Creek Cultural Park, and he edited a collection of poems written by South Texans entitled Asina is How We Talk. Vega is a Macondo Writers Workshop Fellow and the Poet Laureate of San Antonio for 2024 through 2027. Are you talking about this, Eddie Vega? Because I am. Eddie Vega, how are you doing, homie?
Hey, I'm doing great. Doing great on
Um,
this Friday afternoon or whatever it is today.
it's gonna be in the future, so I wonder what day it'll be. I think it'll be a Tuesday, but who knows when people will watch it.
Could be
Uh,
midnight. I don't know what it's gonna be.
well, listen, man. I know that you're gonna close out San Antonio, right? This has been a wonderful stop on our virtual tour, and I'm not gonna hold y'all up anymore. Everybody, please show your virtual love, past, present, and future, to the amazing, the incomparable Eddie Vega.
All right. Thank you for having us, and thank you for coming all the way out to San Antonio. Check out a little bit of our scene. And I'd like, I have a few poems for you, or as we say here, for y'all. All right. This first one, I call it. Well, it's in there. I'll tell you. Haiku. Cruel irony. The two tongues I speak, each conquered my native brown skin. I was at the workshop. Cuando les leí mi poesía. It's a poem sprinkled with words in Spanish, sprinkled like chili powder on the fresh fruit slices of my English when they told me, maybe you should translate more of your words because not everyone can understand you. So I told them, I didn't write this poem for you. So don't ask me to change it for you. You see, I spoke Spanish before I spoke anything else. And while my father was learning English in the classroom, I was learning from my mom and Sesame Street. So maybe this poem is for Big Bird and Cookie Monster and Oscar, who taught me it's okay to get mad, especially if you're being misunderstood. You see, I wrote this poem for my mom and her generation, who were punished in classrooms, made to kneel in corners, their mouth washed out with soap for speaking in their mother's tongues. I wrote it for my father, who was proud when the white lady told him she couldn't believe he was an immigrant because he hardly had an accent. I wrote it for my daughter, who with her analytical mind gets taught marks in math and science, but struggles in Spanish class. I wrote it for my son, who asked me one day in disappointment, Daddy, why didn't you teach me Spanish when I was younger? I would know 2 languages by now. And I wrote it because when I was their age, I pretended I didn't understand the janitors and the lunch ladies at school because none of my GT classmates would ever have talked to those people. So now I'm writing it for them and their daughters and their sons, y my tíos, y my tías, y toda la gente de mi barrio quienes trabajan en la labor so they can pick the lettuce and tomato that goes into your taco salad. Maybe it's for the Salinas out there who can sing como la flor, but don't actually know the language in which they sing. And for Hispanics in Hollywood who are still typecast as gang members, pool cleaners, and janitors, and lunch ladies, and for El Chavo del Ocho, Univision 41, all 178 restaurants in a greater metropolitan area with Jalisco somewhere in their name, 43 de Otinapa who still have not been found, 30% of Border Patrol agents who claim themselves as Hispanic, keep their own cousins in cages, but I sure as hell didn't write it for you. It's for anyone who's ever been laughed at for saying sandwich, or library, or pizza, or had their name butchered by some pinche gringo who didn't even want to try because there's no excuse for that. It's for being told to speak American on this soil, where we roll tortillas before we ever broke any bread, and there was a Santa Fe before there was a Plymouth Rock. There was an El Paso before there was a Philadelphia, and there was a San Antonio before there was ever a Washington, D.C., and I did not write this poem for you either, Mr. Abbott. I wrote it for me, and you, and you, and you, and you, y toda mi gente.
Hey, yo, man, that was so, whatchamacallit? You articulated a very necessary thing. In our scene, one of our leaders is Jive Poetic. And, in New York, we get a lot of people speaking a lot of languages who we know they'll come up to the mic and they'll be like, yo, I'm going to say most of this in my native tongue. Sorry if you can't understand it. And then Jive will come up and be like, yo, there's no need to apologize. You say the poem the way you intended to write it. All right. The onus is on us to, learn that language. And then I always feel like no matter what the language, if you're genuine, you're still going to be interpreted, pretty close to your original message. How does that go in your scene?
Oh, that's exactly. I mean, well, one of the reasons why I put it on the beginning of that poem is I was in a workshop with some people. I think actually I was on a team with some people, and I had too much Spanish in or I was accused of having too much Spanish in one of my poems, and I felt like, you know what? We're cool when other people put their language in the poem, but like if it's Spanish, somehow it's like less than. That's the way I was feeling.
Interesting.
And,
Okay.
because people, I mean, I've been at places where people are like, yeah, he's speaking that other language, and they start clapping when they hear it. And I'm like, but we don't do that with Spanish, And maybe it's because it's in this area, so many people speak Spanish. We don't think that it's special.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Because there's so many Spanish speakers, and maybe like people are like scared.
Yeah, exactly. So then I was like, and I thought about it, it's like, you know what? I'm not writing it for you. I'm writing it for myself. So it's part of that. It's part of that authenticity to one's own voice. I think that's important. So exactly what Jai Poetic was saying, it's you speak your language, and then the onus is on the audience to figure it out. And for that same reason, no italics. When I write this poem down and I have the Spanish in there, it's written in the same way as everything else, or the Spanglish, really. Because it is like a little bit of, and that's the impetus behind that book that I put together. I have here, Asina is How We Talk, which is poets from South Texas, all of them writing in Spanglish. And I got a grant from the city to put it together, just like that. And there are no italics in this book. We are speaking authentically, or reading or writing, speaking authentically in this. And it's, I guess, it's on the onus is on the reader to figure it out if they need to. But yeah, that's really, really important to my message and to my work.
Mm. You kind of mentioned it a little bit in your poem, but I was looking at your bio, the taco poet of Texas. The taco poet. What does that mean?
Sure. When I started like going open mics and whatnot, and one of my, I guess my gimmick was writing about tacos, writing about food. And I even had like a little blog for a little bit called We Talk About It. With a friend of mine and I would go to different taco spots around town and just review them, write about them. And that kind of developed
Mm.
into being on, there was a call out for people who could be on a taco council of Texas, and I was selected for that. And I got to be in a book about tacos of Texas. And so I started calling myself Taco Poet of San Antonio. And then I got a little bit bigger. I'm like, you know what? I'm Taco Poet of South Texas. And then my
Ah.
friend was introducing me once, and she's like, "Nah, fool, you're not the taco poet of South Texas. You're the taco poet of Texas." So she gave it to me, and when she gave it to me, I'm like, "All right, it's been said by somebody else." So I put it in the bio. That's what people call me, and I do have poems about tacos, um, and taco culture, and eating tacos, and having fun around tacos and other food. And some people might think that's kind of silly, but really no, because poems that are about food are really also about culture.
Yes.
They're about identity. They're about identity. They're about having good times with people. They're about the meals and about the people we're having with the meals, or the people we're not having with the meals. There's a whole lot
Right.
more levels to a poem that's really about food.
Is this the second poem? Because you are speaking right now. Hold on. Before you get into it, I remember last time I was in San Antonio, there was that taco truck right outside the venue that I was featuring out. You remember what
Yeah,
that venue was?
yeah. It's called Tacos Regio. It's like
Yo,
Regal tacos. Yeah,
the best tacos. Yo, y'all gotta go out there. Is your
for sure.
second poem about tacos or no?
Gosh,
It doesn't
no,
have to
no, because
be.
I'm not so no. But you know what? It can be about food though.
Okay, cool. Let
I
me hide
have
myself.
and the of course, what happens is like you kind of like bring this stuff up on a computer, or you think, oh, I'm gonna bring this up on the computer so that I can look at it later, and then you close the tab for whatever reason, and then
Oh.
it goes. It's well, so here I am right now. I found it. I found
Okay, cool. The moral of the story is never close the tabs.
it. Some of the best advice given to me was by my friend Calvin Broadus. You might not have a car or a big gold chain, but stay true to yourself, and things will change. Okay, so he's really not my friend. That's not important right now. But I was thinking about this at Trader Joe's because I just got married. My wife is a bougie lady from Raleigh, and this is what's become my Saturday afternoons. The Mexican dude pushing the little ass shopping cart next to the only black woman at Trader Joe's, where everybody is happy and cool, like Snoop, except not like Snoop at all. And I'm wondering if maybe my being in the store is me being me, and I'm pushing the mini cart through the produce section, and right in front of me, there's rainbow cauliflower, which is cauliflower in every color except white. Cauliflower. Why are you trying to be other colors? But it doesn't stop there. There's a whole bubblegum list of cauliflower at Trader Joe's. There's cauliflower rice, mashed cauliflower stuffing, cauliflower pizza crust, cauliflower pancakes, cauliflower kung pao tempura, cauliflower tabbouleh, cauliflower wings. And how is that even a thing? Because cauliflower doesn't fly unless you throw it like chickens. But that's beside the point. Because my mama never made fried cauliflower, or cauliflower and dumplings, or cauliflower enchiladas, and that's when it happened. I turned that micro cart right into a rack of cauli- of cauli- of cauliflower tortillas. And I heard the ancestors wail, or maybe my wife scream as she watched me faint. That Fisher Price shopping cart still in my hands. Cauliflower, who hurt you? Cauliflower, stay in your lane. I'm gonna eat white vegetables to stop appropriating the cuisines of other cultures. There's nothing wrong with you that a whole stick of butter and some Lawry's can't fix. Cauliflower, do you. Be cauliflower. And chicken be chicken, and rice be rice, and tabbouleh be whatever you're supposed to be. Tortillas be delicious, and Snoop be Snoop, and you be you, and you be you. I'll be me. And let's stay true to ourselves. And I'm hungry. My wife says I can have chicken wings as soon as the medics can clear me.
Yo, you you lost me at cauliflower while you're trying to be other colors. I fell apart and I'm still locating all the pieces. Oh my God, I don't even know what to say. I was just laughing the entire time. Yo, thank goodness for the mute button because I would have been laughing through your entire poem. Oh my God, so funny.
But I mean, that was true. I
Me
was at
you.
Trader Joe's, and I'm like, why is there everything cauliflower, man? Like, I'm not. Look, I like cauliflower. I just don't think cauliflower should try to be other things like rice. Be yourself, cauliflower. Don't try to be rice. Be yourself.
Yo, it makes so much, oh, it makes so much sense. What a clear message. Cauliflower, be cauliflower. We need that sometimes. We don't need it other times. Oh my God, blowing the lines. Okay, so listen, your poems, we heard you in the long form, very hilarious when you have the room, the poetic real estate to expound upon your argument. But I have seen firsthand you body a lot of the greatest poets in the world only using 17 syllables. Like I know that you are a multi haiku champion. And I was wondering, I mean, I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot. Do you happen to have any of those little shards of stained glass excellence with us today?
You know, I learned in slam because I don't know about your scene, but like whenever there's a tie in slam, we go to like haiku in ours at Puro Slam. So I knew you always got to have some haiku in your pocket. And then the other thing that happened is that like in I don't know, it was 2018, one of the last National Poetry Slams, and I was doing haiku deathmatch for the very first time. I lost the final. I came in second after 16 rounds, and basically the reason why that happened is because I started running out of haiku. Actually, I did run out. I had to just say lines from my poems and hope there were 17 syllables or less. So I vowed not that would never happen. So I've always got haiku ready. I have a few here. Let's see, and I'm gonna go back and forth between serious and the not so serious.
Yo, you're really killing me with that never again moment. That's so real. All right, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
All right. School shootings prove the lawmakers fail every time a student passes. Teaching methods have devolved. Kids stress over lessons in bullet points. The ghost was so angry. Nah, like for real. He literally lost his sheet. She a 10, but then she married me. So now she a 4. Eva.
Nice.
And I think that should do it. Just those quick ones.
Ah, okay, just this little sprinkling. Oh man, okay, fair enough. If you want more, you gotta follow this man. You gotta go to his city or go to one of these national slam tournaments and hope that he enters one of the haiku tournaments to win it yet again. He'd be cleaning up. Okay, you got one more for us, Eddie?
I do. I like to call it, the title of my newest book is called Somos Nopales, which is literally We Are Cactus.
Almost in the
And I
balance.
have a title track. Yeah.
Okay.
One of the things that we do in Mexico, South Texas, is that we eat cactus. We eat nopalitos. because they got good protein and stuff. And I was eating them one day, and I was thinking about that, and I was like, whose idea was this to eat cactus? Like, you know. So I wrote this poem. When I think of a plant, I don't think of a cactus. Its form irregular, no stem, broad leaves, or leaves that are limbs and spikes that are leaves. The oldest with a bark, but can we really even call them trees? Fruit that might look like a pear, but sweeter, adorned with impossible flowers. Cactus pokes out from under rocks, straddles a fence line, sprouts up next to old brick walls surrounded by asphalt and concrete. Yet it was on that cactus that the eagle was found eating the serpent. On the plant that thrives in arid climates, whose petals will cause you pain. On the plant that can be cut, discarded on the driest of grounds, only to reroot itself and rise again. Refuses to give up, refuses to go away, refuses to die. El nopal is the toughest, most resilient plant on earth. And what does it say about us that we eat nopales, that we eat cactus, that we cut the spikes off like they never mattered, that we wash and rinse and boil and rinse and drain and saute, that we eat the ugliest shrub del monte, the plant rejected, found among stones, has become the cornerstone of our Lenten plate, the Lazarus of our garden. You say ouch, we say Ike. You say ew, we say dame más. You say cactus, we sing nopalitos. Nopalitos se venden, nopalitos se dan, nopalitos para la cena, para el desayuno, con huevo y tortilla. Nopalitos se venden, nopalitos se dan. And someone had to cut the spikes off and wash it, then boil it, then wash it again. And someone had to figure that out. So stop saying that we're lazy. And raza, stop being lazy. We can wash and boil and wash those politicals all we want, but they won't get any more palatable. Cast the ballot that cast them out. Somos nopales, we are cactus. Let's prosper where we plant ourselves. Be a prickly pain of the system that thinks it can just handle us. Be the toughest, most resilient transplant on earth. Make roots along those walls. Rise among those stones. Flourish in wasteland. They may look away from us because they think that we're ugly, that we can be, or we cannot be avoided. They succeed only in giving us an unquenching desire to grow and 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 grow. They tried to bury us, but they didn't know that we were nopales, 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 nopales. Somos nopales, and we refuse to die.
Oh, come on, yo. Dang. That y'all, Eddie Vega, y'all. Said adorned by impossible flowers, and then you called them paddles. Paddles will cause pain. And then the message, don't even get me started. That was fire. Eddie, I got one question before we dip. Well, I guess two. When did you come onto the San Antonio poetry scene?
Gosh, probably about 2010, maybe 2011 or so. I think
2010.
probably 2010, yeah.
2010. Okay, so in that time, yeah, I know you've witnessed so much. What would you say the biggest change is from 2024 to 2010 in the San Antonio poetry scene?
You know, some the scene, you know, if I include all the scenes in the scene, I guess, like all the different communities that are there. One or two of them, because of COVID, kind of like faded away. Sadly, I mean, one of our longest running open mics, the Sun Poets, they went on, they were about to go on 25 years. They had a 25-year party coming up right in April 2020, right? And that eventually, you know, they moved to online a little bit, and then they couldn't anymore. And that was kind of sad to see them go. But other ones were, you know, made it through, and some other ones came up. So I guess that's the biggest, is this that flux, you know. Even our slam, you know, our Puro Slam still happens more or less. May or may not have a team this year going anywhere. It's just been difficult, you know. Things change, people change. I think that a lot of the poets are getting older, and there certainly needs to be a lot more bringing up, nurturing younger poets to be part of the scene. I think that's an important issue too. I'd like to see. I think there were younger poets before, and I'd like to see more younger poets again.
Okay, so seems like some of the petals of the cactus have fallen off, but we got some new ones budding, and we want to
Exactly. That's what
focus on that.
cactus does. That when you throw cactus away, it just reroots itself, and that's how it reproduces. You just throw it on the
Mm.
ground, and that's what we need to do. Is we need to just throw petals out and have them reroot themselves in different spots.
Okay. Well, I'm hoping that happens. I know with you doing all the big things that you're doing, that can only help. And yo, I appreciate everything that you're doing out there, man.
Thank you, thanks for having us.
Of course, man. Shout out to San Antonio for joining us on the Beatnix tour. Shout out to all the poets. Special thank you to the Nuyorican Poets Cafe and to the Mid-Atlantic group for making this episode possible. And we got one more episode next week. Another Texas city. Stay tuned. Bye now.
And grow and grow and grow and grow and grow and grow.